And what's up, everybody, for episode 2 of Around the Rings with me, KOTR, at KOTR underscore Dusty Dave, the dustiest man in the game, the man of 1,000 gimmicks, one half of the Belt Bros, with Nate. Tag teams coming. But anyway, so last episode we talked about AEW. And I delved a little bit into Kenny Omega, but today I want to focus the episode completely on Kenny Omega. I mentioned last episode about where he's going to go, so I'm not going to really focus on that today. I want to focus more on becoming a fan of his and getting a chance to meet him. I wasn't originally a Kenny Omega fan. I actually hated him terribly. I thought he was overrated. I thought he was cocky, and I wasn't a fan of the whole cleaner gimmick. I remember when he was unveiled as a member of the Bullet Club to be a cleaner of the junior division. I started watching NJPW regularly when he booted AJ Styles out of the Bullet Club on New Year's Dash. I was able to watch Wrestle Kingdom 12 live after my flight to Orlando for Holy Ship was canceled because that was when the Northeast had that huge blizzard last year. And one of my favorite matches of 2018, if not the favorite, what a lot of people are saying, have said, was the match of the year. Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada at Dominion, 2 out of 3 falls. We finally see Kenny Omega be crowned the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And I've never really been too big of a fan of 2 out of 3 falls matches. But New Japan, they don't traditionally do stipulation matches, whether they be triple threat matches, 2 out of 3 falls. So for them to have a stipulation match for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship between Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega was amazing. Now, that's when I really started paying attention to Kenny Omega. Now, obviously, we know that Kenny Omega lost the IWGP Heavyweight Championship to Hiroshi Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom 13. But one of the rare opportunities that was presented last year, a smaller wrestling promotion, Northeast Wrestling, had its show in November 9th, NEW Redemption. Other matches on this card were Darby Allin versus Pentagon Jr. We had the Jerry the King Lawler show up. We had a ladder match. But what drew me to this was Kenny Omega versus Phoenix. Now, Phoenix is one half of the Lucha Bros with Pentagon Jr. But it's rare that we get to see a sitting IWGP Heavyweight Champion compete in another promotion. So, as soon as this was announced, I knew I wanted to do it. Then they started announcing the meet and greets. And the one that drew my eye was obviously Kenny Omega. Now, I've never met I met Dalton Castle when he was the Ring of Honor champion on my birthday, June 2nd, at Ring of Honor New York City Excellence. So I got a chance to meet him, but obviously there's the tiers of the World Championships where they rank. A lot of people can make the argument that it's WWE Championship. People can make the arguments that it's IWGP. But as soon as I saw the meet and greet, I got it, and I opted for the cleaner package, which was a photograph and 5 autographs. Now, if you guys have tuned into the show, you know that my last KOTR rewards before Survivor Series was two of the autographs, and our own Mr. Fretz and our own Kayla Kelly were the two winners of that. So those were two of my autographs. I actually met up with one of the Rant with Ant members, Philium Catalado. It's Cataldo, but I'm going to say it's Catalado for the rest of my life ever since All In. But he had a picture from All In that he took that I let him have one of my autographs. And I had Kenny Omega sign the pop. And I had Kenny Omega sign this picture of me, Kenny, and a legend. If you guys don't know, that is Philium Cataldo. He's awesome. If you are a fan of him, Rant with Ant, Who Got Next, one of my homeboys, Phil, love you. You're so quiet. Anyway, so I got a chance to meet Kenny. Now, I met up with other people at the show. One of the other members of Who Got Next, MJ Santi, she was there with her brother and her husband. Brother Rob was there. Nikki Skywalker and Matt Fish were there. Scott Rand, who I've started having amazing conversations about New Japan with. And I met up with Balor Club guy. So I got a chance to see a lot of the people I know at this show. Now, it was a 2.5-hour drive for me. Terrible weather, but the show was amazing. Kenny Omega was down to earth. Like, I've never been more amazed about how down to earth. And he kind of reminded me of Finn Balor in the fact, like, when I was trying to ask him questions, he was more concerned with asking questions about me, trying to get to know me. And obviously, at those meet and greets, you have very limited time with the superstars. But the show was amazing. The meet and greet was amazing. And I can gladly say that I met Kenny Omega while he was an IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And for those of you who know one of my gimmicks, the Belt Collector, or Davey All Belts, it was at this show that I went to the merchandise stand and they had a replica of the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Now, if you ask a bunch of people, they'll tell you that I have too many belts. I've never seen the IWGP Heavyweight Championship being sold before, or a replica, so I got it. As of right now, I have 7 or 8. I've lost count. But such an amazing show, such an amazing chance to get to meet Kenny Omega, especially now. A lot of us thought that he was going to hold on to the championship longer, being that, you know, his journey towards achieving the championship was very long. Fortunately, it was not a long reign. It was little less than 6 months. And now we're at the point where Kenny Omega's contract is up on January 31st. There's the rumors that he most likely will be joining the rest of the guys of the Elite at All Elite Wrestling, and Chris Jericho, which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, like, they were a very tight-knit group when they were in Japan together, and it would make sense. And Kenny Omega is very close friends with Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho was the marquee signing for AEW. I also came across articles recently talking about how Don Callis, who's one of the higher-ups at Impact, was almost able to get Kenny and Jericho to sign there. I don't know how much I'm going to take those reports with a grain of salt. But, like, there were a lot of different factors that went into it. But, you know, having a friend in the high up and a large amount of creative control with your character can do wonders. And I mean, Impact is on the up and up. Like, I really tried to get myself to Bound for Glory. I know Phillian wanted to go because Tessa was there, but the tickets on the resale market were just too expensive. And I wasn't willing to drop like that type of money. And It is what it is. And then there's always the rumors every year Kenny Omega is going to show up in the Royal Rumble. I said it at last episode. I'm going to say it again. His contract's not up to the 31st. He's still contracted to New Japan, and he's not showing up unless they came to an agreement. But the only time I've seen that done was AJ Styles. And I'm not saying that Kenny Omega is not on the level of AJ Styles. I'm just saying that at that time, they were losing. They lost AJ. Then a couple months later, Shinsuke and the Good Brothers. Also, a man whose contract expires on the 31st is Kushida, the man who revolutionized the junior heavyweight division. And reports are that he's going to be going to WWE and working with the NXT brand. I would love to see Kenny in WWE. You have matches against Rollins, Ambrose, Finn, AJ, and those are just the main hitters. Potentially Roman Reigns when he returns, or even Legends. Imagine the Legends matches that we could have. You could have an actual WWE Bullet Club stable, not like the Balor Club or the Club, with all the original, with Kenny, the brothers, Finn, AJ. It would be amazing. And we all know how highly people rate AJ Styles' Royal Rumble number 3 entrance in 2016. Nobody was expecting it. Unfortunately, we mentioned it on this week's episode. The camera crews fucked it up. They were focusing on Roman Reigns being like, whose music is this? And then we get the AJ Styles. But ultimately, I'm going to be a fan of Kenny Omega wherever Kenny Omega goes. This year, I've broadened my horizons with checking out a bunch of indie shows, New Japan, like I said, WWE, and I've even watched more of Impact. So, I said this last episode, I'm going to say it again. I implore the wrestling community. Anyone who's saying that, New Japan's dead in the water or Ring of Honor's dead in the water because they lost those guys or these guys, that's not the case. And don't get bent out of shape because, they're selling out, they're joining the big leagues. A lot of stars will have those goals to reach these pinnacles. WWE, New Japan, etc., etc. If you're a wrestling fan, support wrestling. It's tough to be a wrestling fan in the internet wrestling community with all the trolls, all the haters, but just support wrestling as a whole. We're in a boom period, and the sky's the limit. So I'll be very much looking forward to checking out any reports coming out on the 31st about Kenny. And obviously the following week there's the ticket rally informational for AEW's Double or Nothing. So big things going on, and obviously we're on the road to WrestleMania. So that's enough from me. But you can find me and my compeers, the KOTR boys, Willie T, the Mac Militant, and King Ricky Rose, with the KOTR podcast. You can find us on Twitter, KOTR_podcast, on Wrestle Addict Radio, with Gift of Podcasts, Not Your Mama Soap Opera, Smashes Podcast, Fourth Wallcast. I apologize for getting you next week. I'm still getting into the making the videos thing. On the Rant with M feed, you can check out RWA. You can check out the E is for Elite. You can check out Who Got Next. So yeah, if you guys want to interact with me, you probably already know me by KOTR_Dusty Dave. But for now, that's enough. From yours truly, Dusty Dave. Goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bang. Cue that music.